All right. Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good to see everybody. This is case 30 of the Book of Equanimity, or Book of Serenity, which translation you're reading. Kind of a difficult koan, so hang in there. Case 30, Daizui's Kalpa Fire. Preface to the Assembly. It distinguishes all relatives and cuts off duality. To break off the ball of doubt, what phrase can be adopted? Choan is not more than a tiny step away. Taizan's weight is only 3 pounds. Tell me, according to what principle does one speak thus? Main case. Attention. A monk asked Daizui, in the raging of Kalpa fire, the chiliocosms are together destroyed. I wonder if this is destroyed or not destroyed. Daizui said, destroyed. The monk asked, if so, does everything go with it? Daizui said, everything goes with it. The same monk later asked Ryusei, in the raging of Kalpa fire, chiliocosms are together destroyed. I wonder if this is destroyed or not destroyed. Ryusei replied, not destroyed. The monk asked, why is it not destroyed? Ryusei replied, because it is the same as the chiliocosms. Appreciatory verse. Destroyed and not destroyed. Everything goes with it. Chiliocosms. The phrase didn't function as hook and chain at all. The feet with brambles are hindered greatly. Understand and not understand. Understood and not understood. The crystal matter so long-winded. Those who know when taking it yourself is up to you. Okay.
Could you clarify one word quickly?
Yes.
Is it a
chiliocosms. I actually went to Gemini just to see what Gemini would say.
It's a big number, isn't it?
No, Kalpa is a big number.
Oh, okay.
Well, chiliocosms, you could call it a number. So a chiliocosm is a concept from Buddhist cosmology that translates literally to a world system or 1,000 worlds. The term comes from the Greek prefix chilio, meaning thousand, and cosmos meaning universe or world order, used to translate the Sanskrit term sarasra, mahasarasra, loko daitu. I'm sure I slaughtered that pronunciation.
Sort of like a multiverse, sort of like the opposite of microcosm, sort of macrocosm? Or?
It's many universes. Many universes. Instead of viewing the universe as a single world, Buddhist cosmology describes a vast nested multiverse where worlds are grouped in specific mathematical powers of 1,000. So a small chiliocosm is 1,000 individual worlds. A medium chiliocosm is a cluster of 1,000 small chiliocosms. A great chiliocosm, a universe containing 1,000 medium chiliocosms. Yeah, it's really big. Then
large.
The large. Oh yeah. Well, it isn't. Well, a great chiliocosm, a universe containing. What was that?
The White House ballroom.
The White House.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, that chiliocosm is. At Kalpa, you've heard the term the sandwich. I just wanted to see what Gemini would tell me about this. So it actually gives a calculation of a Kalpa being 4.32 billion human years. I think he must mean solar years. Human years, is that Earth years? I thought it was kind of a funny way to phrase that. As if, anyway. Are years different for dogs than they are for humans? I don't know.
Yes.
That's-
Dog years. Dog years are 7 times faster.
That's true. Okay.
Since you asked.
Since I asked. So 4.32 billion years is how long the Earth has been around. And basically, the 4 stages of a Kalpa, the eon of evolution, the universe is gradually formed out of cosmic winds and elemental energy. Space and worlds, like the chiliocosms, take shape. The eon of existence, the universe is fully formed, stable, and inhabited by living beings. This is the era we live in right now. And then the eon of dissolution, the universe undergoes a mass destruction, typically wiped out by cataclysmic fire, water, and wind. Eon of emptiness, the universe remains a chaotic, dark, and empty void. Nothing exists but primordial space, waiting for the next cycle of evolution to trigger. I mean, there's some of the physicists believe, like I think that before Hawking died, he actually changed his belief from believing that the Big Bang was the beginning, but the Big Bang was just a blip in the universe that happened, many blips that have probably happened over an eternity of time. It was not the who knows.
Roger Penrose is.
Oh, Penrose too.
Yeah, he's been on this kick for a while, and there was a discovery recently that, of course, he's saying it supports his idea that it's always a bang and a crunch.
Forgive and crunch, yeah. Well, fortunately, we don't live long enough to experience that directly. But bringing this back to the koan, how is it that, because spoiler alert, both of those answers to the question are true, which doesn't help at all in answering the koan. The koan is about what is your direct experience of both of those answers, of destroyed or not destroyed, everything going with it, and being the same as the chiliocosm. So this is really about you and your true self, and not about the destruction of the entire universe. So, because for you, if you're destroyed, if you're gone, if you are not here, then your universe is destroyed. And it's really just the two sides of the same coin, relative and absolute. Because in the absolute sense, we fall back on Newtonian physics. Matter and energy is neither created nor destroyed; it just changes form. So you're immortal in that sense. At least aspects of you are immortal. But we also have the relative sense in which we see each other being born, living, aging, and dying. And that when we die, as far as we know, everything goes with us. Everything else is we're no longer existing, so everything is gone. But if we are truly just returning to the quantum field, if you will, we're just part of that potential of everythingness that continues on forever. It was always here, it will always be here. And who knows what we were billions and billions of years ago. Some people think that we're living inside a black hole, so what was on the other side of that black hole before we got to this side? So there are all kinds of theories, but what's the direct experience? How are you both of these at any time? Certainly, if you are stuck somewhere, if you are stuck in the relative, stuck in a comparison, stuck in a judgment, then that's can be very destructive. It can feel like your entire universe is just blowing up around you because you want it to be a certain way, and you're comparing it to the way that it is, and you're not getting what you want. So suffering is what's going on in that case. But the one description is that the Buddha nature is not at all permanent, because it constantly changes, constantly flows, it's constantly moving. You're not the same person you were 5 minutes ago. You have moved past that. And to be in that constant flow, you're in this constant state of impermanence and continuing to die and be born every second, every new. And just continuing with it. So, and we're in and out of both of these all the time. Because certainly when we're out in the world and we're dealing with people who are only dealing with the world in the relative sense, that's where we have to be. That's where we have to do. That's what we have to do in order to relate to that world. We have to identify as I am and you are, that constant duality that we're always living in. But is that real? Most would say not. That there is this duality is a delusion, useful delusion at times, but not the ultimate truth. The ultimate truth is that we are one. We are the same as the Chiliocosmos. And so we're immortal in that sense. We continue in that sense. And constantly change in that sense. Because it's only the things that get stuck somewhere that get destroyed. And our expectations of being something or someplace or something other than where we are right here, right now, is where the suffering occurs. And it only occurs in the narrative. When we start to tell ourselves the stories about ourselves, then that's where we get stuck. When we let go of those stories and are just completely present with what is right here and right now, which is hard to do. So, and also, certainly we're living in an economy that depends on you being completely distracted from where you are right here, right now. Billions and billions is being spent to keep you on TikTok, on YouTube, on Facebook, despite the fact that I've turned off all of my notifications, they sneak in. They've found my email address. You have a message on Instagram. Seriously? I turned my notification off. I can't. Well, and part of the, one of the jobs I volunteer for, the open mic people, they do all this stuff on Instagram, so I'm on there all the time. So, I mean, they're useful things for these things. These things can be used as useful tools. They're not totally destructive all the time. It's the obsession, the addiction that they drive. I had to uninstall TikTok. That I was sucked into that so badly. I was like, oh man, this I can see how people could just get stuck with this. Uninstall.
Working on our dreams now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, of course, this all brings us back to, and the only way to really experience this koan is to sit still with this koan, with this whole idea of destroyed and not destroyed, relative and absolute Kalpa fires. It's what is this really saying? How is it manifesting in your everyday life? Because it is showing up every minute of every day, because we're always in and out of these Kalpa fires. So it's and we're not separate from the Chiliocosmos, unless we separate ourselves, which we do, and sometimes we have to. So that's why both answers are correct. That's why both answers are useful, because it's really more about the experience and how you use practice to walk in and out of, if you will, these burning Chiliocosmos. What is the song? March into Hell or Heavenly Cause? Madame Matcha. Anybody old enough to remember that? So this koan comes from the 10th century and was a very, very famous koan. interesting that it's only in this one book. I thought for sure this would be in several of the other books, but it's not. This destroyed and not destroyed is really what's going on in our everyday life. We are constantly moving through this impermanence. Things, whatever is in the past is gone forever, and everything from the past goes with it. Every minute that passes, it's gone, not coming back. We try to recreate it in our stories, in our narratives, in our ways of being. We try to hold on to those things that we like and get rid of those things that we don't like. Constant attraction and aversion that is going on, which really, is the hell that we create for ourselves. And if we just let it go, if we just move with the chili cause, move with the constant flow of being, that is where we are being with the suffering, because suffering is not necessarily a bad thing, because we do this on a constant basis. And I realize that the Four Noble Truths is suffering, but it's a little counterintuitive the way you think suffering is by becoming it. So, testing koans, how do you stop the ringing of the temple bell? And there's only one answer to that koan. Bong, 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 bong. Because when you are it, it's not there. It's just who and what you are. So when you are completely immersed and absorbed into every moment, and you know this, you know this intuitively, when you're in the flow state, when you are doing work that you love, or you get lost in what you're doing, you look up and 3 hours have passed, and you're like, wow, what happened? Where did that go? Where was I? And you're completely lost. That's that complete absorption. And that's what this practice is about, really making that access to that flow state is really made more facile with this practice, because you take the opportunity a few minutes every day just to sit and be, to do whatever you can to get out of the discursive, natterings that are going on in your head constantly, and just be still. Just be still. Just be your breath. Just be in this moment. And the usual experience of it is like, this is so freaking boring. Where's the excitement here? Where's my enlightenment? Where's my sudden realization that will just take me out of this? And the realization is that there is no way out but through. And that's the joy, is a gift to everyone else, because where everyone else will be in this constant relative state, you can be still and just be present with them wherever they are, and really take care of them, the situation, whatever is coming up. Nothing stops you. You're not stuck in a particular way of being that doesn't allow you to take that step. You have access to the full spectrum of your true self, and your true self is not separate from anything else. Sounds a little fantastic, a little airy-fairy, a little woke. But that's really what it is. And this is not news. They've been telling us this, the sages have been telling us this for thousands of years. And this particular koan gives a very... Obviously this monk was a little worried about this raging Kalpa fire, because I don't know why. He's not going to be around when the Kalpa fire happens. But but you do hear people who are afraid of hell, or afraid of heaven, or afraid of whatever's going to happen in the future. So they make up all these stories about what's going to happen, and all the cultures are just rife with stories about what happened before and what will happen after, and what you need to do now. And there are many options of what you can do now, and one of those options is nothing. It's just sit and be quiet. But you may need to do something at times. You need to stay into that stuff that goes on, because that's what the world is, and what the world is perfect just as it is. And being able to do both, or do all, is what this practice gives you access to. So you're not stuck in one or the other. You're both being destroyed by the Kalpa fire, and one with the Kalpa fire. And both death and immortality all wrapped up in one. You don't have to choose. Yeah.
So, something you said earlier, there's like a constant process wherein our selves, our past selves, are seen as that clinging to our past selves or fearing the uncertain future for ourselves is neither one. These are the two avenues that we're talking about here: chiliocosm, or the being stuck or not being stuck in that. And so, the flow state being, we're not tied to the past; that our past selves die. The Kalpa fire absorbs our past selves. Is that my?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then
Well, it destroys the past self. I mean,
it goes everything.
yeah, because everything is gone. I mean, the past does not exist.
We're constantly new.
Constantly.
Yeah, and if we live in that state of not being tied to our past and just being free to be constantly in the present, constantly new, and that's kind of where
That's not a goal.
No, not that's the sort of the middle path between destruction and the clinging.
Yeah. You need to be able to step fully into both, because neither side of that is wrong. Both of them are part of our natural experience. But it's really what tends to happen is that people want one and not the other. They live strictly in that relative state, clinging on to stuff that doesn't exist, trying to perpetuate things that are from the past. Not necessarily a bad thing, because we're, despite the fact that we are new, we still got here because of our past, and because of all the past. 13.8 billion years of past got us to this point.
Those damn amoebas.
Whichever one. Those bacteria that got together at some point. There's no escaping that past, because you are the results of that. We are constantly results of that, and that past is gone. It has been destroyed the minute it happens. There is no recapturing that. There's no going back, as far as we know. The laws of physics have not indicated that there's some reversal that happens. We get, there are all kinds of theories about where it ends, and all kinds of religious ideas of how it ends, but nobody knows. So, where do we live now? What do we do with what we are right now? That's really where you are, and there's no other place you can really be. Yeah.
So what's then between is really all about every koan, every idea. It's just about the now. In other words, I shouldn't be thinking about, well, my awareness will end someday, and then it really will be destroyed, and then will I be reborn? I mean, it's not about those types of thoughts. It's just about now.
Just about now. Yeah. Not that those thoughts are bad. they all cross our minds. And I think that, especially when, as I'm, now taking care of my aging mother, I know that I'm next. That there's no way out of this impermanence of this state. But is this the only state in which we exist? And I think that almost all of the cosmologies seem to think that there was this long time before, and there'll be this long time afterward. And so we don't know. The only thing we can really know, is how we're manifesting right now. And if we're in this now worried about stuff that doesn't exist, how are we spending our time? Yeah.
I'm curious how intentional you are about when you say like worried, because like this, I don't know how much in the call I was really addressing this thing, but what it like calls to me is that this is kind of about our relationship to the memory, whether that's like all the past that's got us here, everything we need to remember in order to even be here now in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
You can be present, you need to remember how to eat, and you also need to remember, what your important things about your relationships. You need to remember how to do your job, and you need to be able to look forward. And I kind of see it as like memory of the future, but have an expectation or prediction that the world is stable enough that you can operate on some kind of assumption that things are going to flow and continue in some kind of way. So it's not that like living in the future or living in the past are necessarily, gonna bring you anxiety, gonna bring you depression. I feel like that's such a common thing people say when anxiety is living in the future, but it's like, you don't have to be grasping and worrying about a goal in order to be present or entangled. Like you don't need to be like grasping and worrying about a goal to be in order to work towards it in a healthy way.
Right.
It reminds me of, again, the mechanics of Zazen. So, mind is going to mind,
Mm-hmm.
right?
It's not don't think that
Right.
discursively.
Yeah.
It's like just be with that thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And fret.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you can live in the future a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, the mind's job is to think. It's going to do that. And it's going to come up, with all kinds of stuff. Some of it's useful, some of it is not. And right, being attached to something, being worried about something is where the anxiety, comes from. Nothing wrong with setting goals. Setting goals, the only way that a future goal happens is if you're doing something to make you very present in where you are right now. What am I doing now to get you whatever that goal is? And if that goal doesn't happen, then change goals. Take care of what does come up and not be attached. So, and certainly that's, there is something. I just read another essay. It was rather depressing, called the Last Messiah by Zepfa, and he basically says that we have to do all these things, these deluded things, in order to deal with the fact that reality has no meaning whatsoever. So you have to give it some meaning in order to get up in the morning and do stuff. So in that sense, we are our own last Messiah. That you really have to save yourself from really experiencing the emptiness of reality and becoming depressed by the fact that it really is empty.
That's not depressing at all. Because as I've explored meditation practice, I've gotten to periods of nihilism. But that idea of that, no, it's okay to bring your own meaning to life I love that.
Yeah. So, and you're not stuck in this no meaning. because we have the capacity to do that. We have this awareness and the functionality, if you will, to be able to do what's necessary. And our vows as Buddhists is to save all sentient beings, to take care of the world, to take care of those who are suffering. And the way we take care of suffering is not necessarily by removing it, because you really can't, but teaching people to really be with, to if you're ending suffering, that it's going to go away. The story about the suffering, the story, which is really the only thing that causes the suffering, does go away. Pain is pretty much not optional. Joy, not optional, because you have both of them going on at this, all the time. It's being stuck and generating and regenerating the story about what it is you want things to be, rather than really accepting and embracing things as they are, because there's everything in this moment, and there's nothing missing. But we have to sit still long enough to let all the stories settle into their proper place. The place of story, which is we know is not real, but not necessarily bad. It's just not real. But we live a lot of times in not real. And having worked in corporate America for 47 years, and every other year there was yet a new outside consultant that came in to change everything that went on to make it all better. And after a while, it's like, okay, here we go again. And it did change things, and sometimes change would re-energize the workplace. You have a new spin on things, a new way of doing things. So sometimes these forced changes that corporations do just because they can are not necessarily bad, because people get stuck in ruts, and people find all kinds of loopholes to not do their work. And so sometimes these changes would re-energize people, plug up the loopholes so people couldn't get away with what they were not doing, or doing badly. Again, it's really embracing it as it is, reality as it is, and dealing with people as they are. And that's the hard part, because we want people to be like we want them to be. We want our government to be the way we want it to be. And accepting it as it is not an easy thing to do, not an easy thing to swallow. But it's only in that acceptance in which we can do something about it. Because accepting it doesn't mean it has to stay that way. It just means that you've now taken on the responsibility for it. And now you're able to respond and able to do what is necessary to help those in need. Help yourself in need first, to make sure that you're not separating from things as they are, and just being the same as the chiliocosms that is destroying whatever is coming up. And at the same time, letting things go that need to be let go of. Letting it be destroyed. And letting it stay destroyed. As it doesn't necessarily help, it's not necessarily helpful to bring all these things forward. There are things that are helpful to bring things forward. Like you said, you got to remember how to do your job. You got to remember all these things. So a lot of the past is helpful. Yeah.
What you learned from Remember, what you learned from your mistakes.
Yeah. Precisely. So that's where that learning comes from. So that's why it's necessary.
I wouldn't do this if it wasn't fun.
Okay.
I've appreciated most of my life the beauty of wisdom and the beauty of ignorance. But, there's constant joy underneath it all. And don't often hear that.
Yeah.
But I can't let go of that these days. The miracle, the joy, and the fact that I'm still alive to be able to appreciate that another breath.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I accept it. It's a Kalpa fire that I'm facing. Wisdom and ignorance, birth and old age and death.
Yeah.
But there's still, I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
And
there's.
it feels good.
Yeah.
That's what I don't hear a lot.
Yeah. And but talking to people, especially at the end of session, when we do the closing circle, a lot of people will express that joy of having sat, because they've sat long enough for things to settle. And then sometimes it takes my brain 2 or 3 days to shut the fuck up, so I can just be present. And but it works. So yeah, that's the only reason I do this practice and have done for.
Kalpa.
Yeah, thank you. It's Kalpa. It feels like a Kalpa. However long, because it works, because it has informed my everyday life, and kept me balanced throughout all the ups and downs, and as and it's interesting that my inside doesn't recognize my age, so I do stupid things that I had no problem doing when I was 20. At 66, this is a whole different story, and I can't do it anymore. And my body reminds me, it's like, okay, you have the privilege of being old, but let's enjoy that. Just as it is, just as it is.
We call it growing, though. I think there's growth.
Yeah, it is. It's growth. I think it can be. Yeah, and it's and I realize that we live in a we've always lived in this youth-oriented culture that if you're young, you can do some things that you can't do when you're older, and you get away with things that you can't get away with when you're older. So, and so a lot of us try to hang on to that, some more than others. And no shortage of plastic surgeons.
But on the other side of that, there's a certain mythology also that's developed about growing old and what that means, as opposed to people who aren't attached to one or the other, just that they function and can keep going, doing things they're always doing.
Yeah.
And that's the other side of that.
Yeah.
The other side of that coin.
Yeah.
People that tell themselves, "Oh, I can't do that now because I'm X age."
Oh, yeah. That's just another story.
It's the story.
Yeah.
But it's the other side of the story about aging.
I wish somebody told me that.
Things you can't do.
Well,
I have one kid who thinks can't do anything, and another one who thinks they can do everything. So I have both sides balancing me out.
oh, well, your own children.
My own children. Yeah. It's like, come on, Dad, you can do that.
Well, you've got that balance built in.
Yeah. I call her my coach.
Yeah.
Coach, can I do this? Yeah.
It's like, yeah, cheer them on. All right. So, questions, disagreements.
Just, it occurs to me that this is somewhat of a motif in different koans, where the answer to the answer to an opposite is the same. So you're kind of looking at, I think of the one with the fist, the raised fist is the same answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, because it's not about those dualistic comparisons, one's right, one's wrong. It's about understanding that we are all both sides. We are all sides of the equation. But the answer to the koan is, what is that direct experience, and what do we do with that? how do we take that out? How do you take your zazen into moment to moment every day? Yeah.
Is that question is that the next question after the contemplation of the koan, or do you think that the answer to how you take it out there is wrapped up in maybe not even just the specific paradoxical answer, but the paradoxical motif that we see all over the place in Zen? Like, I'm curious what you think about that. And I think it's also kind of related, this thing, like the scale issue, like you have the Chiliacosm is like the many worlds, but also we ourselves are many worlds, and that our world is like all of these elements were all kind of blended together. And then you said also that the Kalpa fire is like the thing at the end, the thing at the beginning that just like destroys and washes everything away. But also like, did I mistake you that you were saying like we kind of carry it with us for better and for worse?
Yeah.
So is it, maybe I'm answering my own question, but I'm just kind of asking
You
for
are.
feedback. Like asking for feedback about like carrying the question of how to carry that fire. Is that kind of addressing this thing like, okay, it's a paradox. Great. Now what do I do with it?
These are paradoxes in nature. Nature's just nature.
Well, it's an matter of interpretation, right?
Right.
Whether it's a paradox or not.
Right.
It's
So
not interpreting
these,
itself,
yeah,
except
these,
for we, because
yeah.
we are nature too.
And do we need all these interpretations
Yeah.
to actually get life done? They're fun. They're interesting. They make for great stories. But you know, I was driving out of my parking lot the other day, and suddenly I saw a ball bounce in front of my car, and I knew that either a child or a dog would soon be following that ball, and so there was no question about whether or not to stop. So you know that's taking care of life as it shows up is what this is all about. There's no, and certainly you know how many stories are there about you know those occurrences. Some of them tragic, some of them heroic. And they're all just that. They're stories, and they're always after the fact. So these, the thoughts we have, it takes, you know, according to Professor Libet, who conducted all these FMA studies, it takes 7 seconds for your body to react to a thought that you've had, and it takes, you know, a little less than that for that to reach your consciousness, but the thought has already happened. The action has already happened in your brain. So all of that is before thought, before story, before the words, before it becomes these great big paradoxes and ambiguities. And that's what life is. It's happening before that happens, which is where, if there's said to be a goal for doing Zazen, which I'm not saying that, that it is to get to what is before thought, the precept, the preconception, to really experience that space. That's the true self, is what you are before it becomes a story. And because that's really where you're living anyway. Your brain has already reacted long before you're conscious of it, and long before your body moves in the direction that you think it should. So be present with that. Not that the stories and paradoxes and all that stuff are bad. They're not. They're wonderful ways of reporting what has already happened and the experience of that reporting. But they're never right here, right now. They're always late to the game. So be immediately present with what's right here and right now, is what this practice is about. Not that it denigrates anything else.
But the challenge is the urge to grasp for certainty, because of,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Which I think that's like when I think about like how does Zazen help me? My friends ask me whatever you've been sitting for so many years, and my thing is like, well, it's a lot less stressful to like feel like I need to be certain so much.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of stress with other people at work, people, whatever relationships that they have a conclusion that they're attached to, why somebody did something or what's the right way to do something. Because the answer seems simple enough that something should be some kind of way.
Yeah.
But if you're always like having these like problems that have ambiguous answers that leave you where you started or before where you started, then like maybe it helps you get used to like the muscle memory of being able to react without needing to like collapse something into like, oh, it's just this way.
Yeah.
This kid shouldn't have kicked that ball on the street, and I'm going to worry about that instead of just handling this now.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, and that's the downside of Zen is there's no certainty here, and there's no answers from outside of yourself either. Nothing yet, just being, and it's hard. It's hard work to do that, because if it was easy, we'd be on TikTok. So it's not. All right. Anything from Zoomers? Don, Kirk, questions, comments?
Let me think about. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just thinking too. About thoughts. Sometimes I notice that emotions often precede thoughts.
Yeah.
You have a strong emotion or a positive emotion.
Yeah.
Might lead to.
Yeah, the feeling, because usually it's what we're calling emotion is some kind of visceral reaction that we're having to something. Because I've had that. I've walked into a room and immediately had a feeling about the person that was sitting in the room, good or bad,
Right.
And, in my business, it was always bad.
Yeah.
But
could be wrong.
So, but I had to check that sometimes. So yeah, so there is this. We still have these instinctual reactions because that fight or flight mechanism is constantly in play, which has gotten us to the top of the food chain. So, not something to be taken lightly or ignored, and certainly it's part of who and what we are. The problem is how it gets applied. Where that, because oftentimes it gets applied along tribal lines. We see someone who is part of our in group, and we're good with that, or we see another person that we're not so sure about because they look different, and immediately the fear is there. So good to pay attention to those things, but maybe occasionally to check it. Certainly, if you're in imminent danger, we need to do something about that. You got to, back in the day when we were out on the savannah, that lion could be, right there. The lions aren't so much a problem these days, but there's still other things that could be dangerous for us. So we still have those instincts, and they're good. How are we using them? And Zazen's a good place to check that. To make sure that we're not being run by the stories about people, because you hear people, and they say it so factually, as if, that person over there is a criminal or a drug addict. Do you know them? Did you have a conversation? How do you know this? I can just tell.
Well, back to what he was talking about, and you were talking about lions. Your mind is certain lions are bad.
Yeah.
Your mind evolves, right, to know, to learn, to be certain that lion is bad.
Yeah.
So.
But we had stories about befriending lions for a good reason.
one of the best things to watch on
Yeah.
TikTok.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So our whole selves, as we are, you know, instincts, feelings, precepts, stories, all of it is perfect just as it is. It's really a question of how we're using it, how are we spending our time, how are we expending our energy, and that's where this is where where we get to come and sit and center and just be present to really be able to let those things surface and check in, and then let it go, let it die with the chiliocosm, and because most of the time, a lot of our reactions are from things that happened in our past and are not necessarily applicable to every single moment moving forward. So keep that in mind. Keep your whole selves. They're useful. You are who you are. We are who we are. And there's always work to be done on those selves. Yes.
Another question. So I was looking at the vows. Do people say the vow to protect sentient beings if they're not a vegetarian? If I'm not a vegan, can I say that?
That's a whole other discussion.
What is it?
It says sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them. But if I go home and eat a chicken,
Yeah. Well, yeah, but if you go home and eat a vegetable, the vegetable had to die too.
Yes, and so like you have wood in your house, you say are trees sentient? So there's a whole.
in Zen Buddhism, are trees sentient?
Well, the word sentient is extra. It's save all beings. So we have to take care of ourselves and our planet and the environment in which we live. There's, when we start to kind of parse that out to what's sentient and what's not sentient, there's a lot that we don't know. It gets really crazy because there's scientific evidence that trees talk to each other. Scientific evidence that whales have a vocabulary and a language that we're just now beginning to understand. So deciding that something, using this as a way of othering things is not a useful way.
Yeah, can I share something that's helped me with that?
Yeah.
Which is, when I chant that, I think about not separating myself from other beings.
Yeah.
Full stop. So,
Yeah. So, and one day, you too will be food.
Yeah.
Worms need
Yes.
vegetables.
They're hungry too, and they will eat you.
I don't know if saving is such a literal thing as a prevention from death, because that's not like, is that, I haven't taken it that way. I don't
Yeah.
think.
Spiritual sense, save them.
Yeah, there's nothing, and what do you? If everything is perfect just as it is, what are you saving them from? So, and there are different translations of the word saving, because it is a translation that comes back, dates back thousands of years. So what are we doing? And I prefer the word, I prefer the phrase, taking care of. So, yeah, you have to take care of yourself, so you got to eat. And, my sister, who was an avowed vegetarian for years, got after her third child, was completely protein deficient and there was no other way to get enough protein that she had to eat. So she's lined up behind me in line for Thanksgiving. But I look back and there's a slab of turkey on her plate. And I'm like, who are you? What did you do with my sister? But she knew what she had to do to take care of herself. And that was, so she keeps it minimal, but, she had to start eating meat again. So that's just, what we are. So do take care of yourself, because you have to put your own oxygen mask on first if you are to assist others to breathe. So you have to take care of yourself in order to take care of others.
Beings are numberless anyway. They're numberless anyway.
All right.
The delusions are inexhaustible.